Right, okay guys, so as the title suggests, all-time favourite game on the micros. But we're going to do something a little bit different with this video, because I'm not the only one answering this question. There's a few other YouTubers that are going to tell us their favourites too. So without further ado, let's roll the clips.
Greetings YouTube, Sega Zombie here, and this is just a quick video for my good friend Nerdy Geezer Lee. He's asked the question, what is your all-time favourite 8-bit micro computer game? And wow, this is a really, really hard question, Lee. I could probably list a good 50 games off the top of my head, which I would hold in high regards when it comes to the 8-bit micros. But I think I'm going to go nostalgic, and come on, I'm not going to mention anything about Commodore or Amstrad or any of that. This is going to be ZX Spectrum because it is the best micro. So we are going to focus on a game that is very dear to my heart. This game by Ultimate Play the Game, and that is Attic Attack. What a game. And I've chosen this game because, one, it plays just as well today as it did back then. This was the first game I finished, and even now, after all of these years, me and my mum will fondly talk about this game. I've even loaded it in for them. We've both sat and played it. So basically, the aim of the game is, this is the starting room. You've got to find 3 parts to the big key to get yourself out of this place. But obviously there's other keys to pick up. Your food will continuously slowly go down, so don't let any of the beasties hit you. You can pick up other items, like the crucifix there, which will help you against the likes of Dracula. Being different characters, you can go through different secret passageways. Whoa, there's Frankenstein. You've got to get past him. Oh, and there's a key. So Z picks up the key. Ah, it's the old grandfather clock I can go through. That's it. Ah, and there's one of the main pieces of key. 3 of these to get. So we've got the first piece. Just beautiful graphics. Simplistic gameplay. And I can just play this game all evening and chill right out, guys. So for me, my top #1 micro, 8-bit micro game is Attic Attack. Tremendous game. Hours of fun.
Sega Zombie.
Hiya, I'm Bit Rach, and Nerdy Geezer has asked me to talk a little about my favourite game, and might come as no surprise to a lot of you that my favourite game is Feud on the Amstrad. And it was my favourite game as a kid when it came out in 1987, and it's still to this day my favourite game. You play the part of a wizard called Lyric, and you've had a massive row with your brother, so you're both trying to kill each other, and you have to go around the map collecting herbs and flowers to mix these like defensive spells, offensive spells and healing spells. And he's also doing the same, so it's a bit of a race against time to, harm him before he harms you. And it's just like, it was a great looking game, and the music was fantastic, because the Amstrad suffered from a lot of Spectrum ports, but this looked brilliant. And it always seemed like a much bigger game as a kid. I think because the whole map wrapped around, and it just seemed like a massive world, but it wasn't that big. It was a decent size, but it was one of those games as well that me and my friend, we used to play to death, and she wasn't as into the Amstrad as I was, but she still talks about it to this day. So yeah, that is Feud on the Amstrad CPC, and that's my favourite game ever.
Hi Lee, yeah, thanks for asking this question, mate. It's absolutely done my head in trying to think of out of the thousands, well maybe not thousands, but out of the hundreds of good Commodore 64 games I've played, what would be my favourite Commodore 64 game of all time, or my favourite 8-bit game of all time? Well, of course, it's this. As hard as I've tried to go through all of the old games, you know, the absolute classics that I absolutely love, I can't get away from Sam's Journey. This, to me, is pretty much the pinnacle of what is able to be possible on a Commodore 64. I've seen nothing yet that has made the Commodore 64 look better than this game. So, when I first got back into the Commodore 64, 2016, maybe 2017, something like that, I heard rumours of this game, Sam's Journey, and at first I think it cost like maybe 40 or 50 quid, but you do get so much in the box. There's all sorts in here. You get cards, you get like a great booklet, you get cards, you get this such an awesome little cool treasure chest here with full of jewels and what have you in there. You've got your treasure, but it wasn't that. I mean, that's all beating around the bush. The main thing is the game, and this still stands today. If anyone says to me how bad the Commodore 64 is, etc., fair one. You know, it wasn't all bells and roses. There is some absolutely horrendous games on there, but there's some absolutely fantastic ones as well, and it just depends on whether you're willing to give it the chance. And for me, one game that I must insist on anyone playing before they slag off the Commodore 64 is Sam's Journey. And if you're still slagging off the Commodore 64 after you played Sam's Journey, well, that says more about you. Because it's an awesome game. My favourite game, my favourite 8-bit game of all time, including any consoles, anything like that, is Sam's Journey on the Commodore 64. Yes, it's a new one, but wow, have they managed to push the computer just further than ever before. So guys, take my advice, buy Sam's Journey if you love your Commodore 64. Thanks, Lee.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hobby Lodge. My good friend Nerdy Geezer has asked me what is my favourite 8-bit game of all time, and that is a darn hard question to answer. So could it possibly be the one over my shoulder here, Sam's Journey? Well, you know, yes, I love that game, and if you should check it out if you haven't, but I have to pick this. I have to pick IK Plus on the Commodore 64. To me, this is a perfect game. You can pick it up and play it at any time, jump in and have a quick few fights. It has a progression system in there. It is both for noobs and well-trained, well-skilled individuals. You can learn the systems and learn the fights and do great, fantastic music, great graphics. It just looks great on the Commodore 64. People that talk about colour, look how many colours are in this game and how well the Commodore 64 shows it. So yeah, without a doubt for me, my number one in the 8-bits is on the Commodore 64. Of course it was, and it is IK Plus. There we go. Back to you.
Hello YouTube, Retro Chef here, live from the kitchen. My good friend Leading Nerdy Geezer has asked me to tell you guys my favourite 8-bit game. I don't have much nostalgia for the 8-bit systems. Obviously, thanks to GP Gaming, I've got an Amstrad CPC 464, which is pretty cool. And because of the Hobby Lodge and Retro Bait Pool, I now have a C64. I haven't got a Spectrum yet, but you never know. You never know. God's country always provides. My favourite C64 game is a homebrew. It's loosely based on one of my favourite TV shows, The Supernaturals. And it is Guns and Ghosts. Now, I've had to print out a picture, because obviously I'm at work. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm at work. But Lee, this is my favourite 8-bit game. This is a Cytronics game. It's awesome. It's such a good game. If you've never played it before, get it. But it's Guns and Ghosts on the C64 from Cytronic. Thanks for watching, guys. Thumbs up the video for Lee, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
How are you all? Hope you're all well. Nerdy Geezer has asked me to do a quick video talking about my favourite game on a microcomputer. And you know it had to be a Spectrum game, because even though I do love all microcomputers, including the Commodore 64, the Spectrum is where my heart lies. And then it got me thinking of like, well, what game is it? Because there's so many great games on the Spectrum. But there's one game that I come back to time and time again, and it is this one here. Yes, it is Jetpack. That game that is a 16K just amazing game. How this was never an arcade game. I killed myself already. How this was never an arcade game, I will never know, because it just feels so right. And not only that, but this game has been ported across to so many different computers. The VIC-20, the ZX81, the Dragon 32. It's even on the Rare Replay, and it has inspired Baggers in Space, which is a modern game for the Spectrum Next. But yeah, one thing I do find really odd, even though I know there's games like it, and there was a game on the VIC-20, it never got a port to the Commodore 64, which I always found really strange. If you've not played the VIC-20 port of Jetpack, definitely give that one a go. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, so why is it my number one? Well, just reasons I said earlier. It is easy to pick up and play. It's great going for the high score, and there is not a thing wrong with this game. It's just so fluid, so smooth, so when you make a mistake, it's your mistake. And we're going to go to the next planet. So yes, that is my pick for my favourite micro game. Very, very close second is 3D Death Chase, but Jetpack definitely takes my number one slot for my favourite micro game.
Hello guys, a video for the legendary Nerdy Geezer, and he's asking people to, oh, sorry I've been invaded, he's asking people to do a video of their favourite 8-bit system and just talk about it a little bit. That would be tricky for me because 8-bit is probably my favourite era of games. I especially love my ZX Spectrum games, and there's tons and tons of classics on there. But my favourite choice is pretty easy. Because it's also my favourite game of all time, and that is this one here, which is Chaos, or the full title if you had the big box version, which I'd love to get, is Chaos Battle of the Wizards. And that's it in the background there. It's turn-based tactics, which this is a game which got me into turn-based tactics, and I've loved them ever since. Julian Gollop also did the likes of Laser Squad, Lords of Chaos, XCOM games, not the new ones, but you know, like Enemy Unknown, and Terror from the Deep. So they all have their similarities. But I like the simplicity of this one. It's just single screen. You're against either AI or human players. And basically you're all casting spells, trying to take out the other wizards all on single screen. You've got various enemies you can make, such as, you know, that's a giant bear, bats, zombies, gorillas. Some of them you can mount, like that Pegasus there. Gooey blobs you just put down there, just spread across and become a pain. So yeah, there's a lot you can do, and each game really does play differently. But so cool. Myself and my best mate, we play this for hours upon hours, and you never get bored of it. So that is a classic game. Sometimes simplicity is best, and although I've loved all my other turn-based tactics games since, this is still the pinnacle for me. It's it will never be knocked off a top spot, I don't think, at this point. So yeah, that is my number one 8-bit game, and I'll look forward to seeing the videos of other users and see what their favourite is. So yeah, thanks a lot. I look forward to seeing everyone's vids.
Right, so we've heard everybody else's, so I guess now it's time for mine. So my favourite game, and this won't be a shock to anyone, my favourite game is Bubble Bobble, and that would be on the Commodore 64. Now one thing I just want to get straight here, because everyone's going to be saying, there's no bad ports of Bubble Bobble, and you're right, I don't think there is. I don't think I've ever come across a bad port of Bubble Bobble. However, for me, none of them are quite right. And that's because I grew up playing this game on the Commodore 64, and I played this game a lot. I can quite safely say this is my favourite game on the Commodore 64, and probably the first one I ever actually put into the disk drive when I had it. Because back when I had my original Mark 1, I had the disk drive and a lot of blank backup games. So yeah, I'm pretty certain this was one of the first ones I ever played. Now, I've said this many times that this is one of my favourites, and this is a thing, like I say, I played it on lots of other systems, even the arcade version, but none of them quite sit right with me, and I think that's a nostalgia thing. The music's not quite right, the graphics aren't quite right, it doesn't move quite right, the colours are different. So for me, it'll always be the Commodore 64 version. Might not be a massive shocker to some, because I have said this many times in the past. And yes, there are lots of other really good games on the micros, but in pure terms of nostalgia, for me, it's got to be Bubble Bobble. Anyway, guys, if you watch this video, let us know what your ultimate micro or ultimate favourite game is on the micros in the comments below. And I just want to take this time just to say thank you to everyone who got involved in this video. I felt that this was something I wanted to cover, but I wanted to do it with other people in the micro community. And there's some great channels, as you've seen. All have got their own takes, their own systems, their own favourites. And of course, it all comes down to nostalgia. And let's be honest, when it comes to retro gaming, this is where the whole thing comes from. Nostalgia. What you had back in the day, what you have fond memories of. This is what gets us into retro gaming. So anyway, I just want to leave that one there. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. And until next time, take care, stay safe. Nerdy Geezer out.